Thank you, veterans. Chapter 4, Annabelle's Ideas. During the next day in school, Annabelle had an amazing idea for the veterans unit they were working on in social studies. Once Annabelle took a liking to a theme or topic of interest, her mind would go into overdrive, allowing her creative juices to flow freely. She just couldn't help herself. Annabelle always thought on a large scale and wanted the creative ideas she had to reach others and make them happy. Before the lesson started, Annabelle excitedly approached Mrs. Mitchell's desk to share her ideas privately. Mrs. Mitchell, I wanted to know if the whole class could make some really cool thank you cards for the veterans before we go on our trip next week. Mrs. Mitchell nodded her head. I think that's a great idea, she said. I know receiving those cards would definitely put an extra smile on their faces. Annabelle continued, maybe we could sing some patriotic songs too, like Grand Old Flag and America and This Land is Your Land, she suggested. I don't know if the class knows these songs super well right now, Mrs. Mitchell said with a slight frown. We could definitely learn them, said Annabelle. We're all fast learners. But we're going next week, reminded Mrs. Mitchell, and we might not have the time to go over them. She tried to calm Annabelle down gently. Let's just wait on that idea for now. Maybe we can learn the songs for another time. Annabelle was thrilled that Mrs. Mitchell agreed with even one of her ideas. She decided that maybe her teacher figured that singing was just pushing the envelope a little too much for now. However, she didn't let this get her down. When Mrs. Mitchell began the lesson, she made sure to announce to the class that Annabelle had come up with the great idea of making thank you cards for the veterans. After the lesson, Mrs. Mitchell left time for the class to make the cards. This was a really great idea, Annabelle, said Caitlin. I just love doing arts and crafts, and we get to do it during class time. Yeah, we could be doing harder reading or writing work, but instead we're just making some silly cards, Todd said jokingly. Of course, this comment didn't sit well with Annabelle at all. This is so much more than a silly assignment, Todd, she explained. We're all taking part in an important task by creating these meaningful cards to bring joy to a bunch of great veterans who have served our country well. Caitlin agreed, saying, that's right. It may be an easy assignment, but doing this has a deeper purpose that you need to understand. Okay, I didn't mean to offend anyone. I was just speaking my mind. Sorry, all right? Todd said, wanting to be forgiven after he better understood what it was all about. You know, you're right, Annabelle. My uncle is a veteran. I think I'm going to make a card for him, too, Todd said. Now that's the spirit. I wonder how many other students have relatives who are veterans, Caitlin said. Another idea just popped into Annabelle's mind. That's a very good question, Caitlin. Maybe we should ask the class, or maybe yet ask the whole school, Annabelle said with excitement. How will we do that, Annabelle? Caitlin asked. Before I say anything else, I better run it by Mrs. Mitchell. This idea is really big, Annabelle exclaimed, and quickly went to Mrs. Mitchell's desk again. Mrs. Mitchell, I have one more big idea. What would you think of asking the class or even the whole school to see who has veterans in their families? Then maybe we could invite them in and have a special celebration for them in the school, Annabelle asked excitedly. Mrs. Mitchell thought about this idea before she spoke. You know, Annabelle, you might be onto something here. I was thinking about doing some kind of school project, and this might just be it. Let me ask Principal Jefferson to see if it's possible. I'll let you know soon. Annabelle was on cloud nine. She couldn't believe that her big idea might actually be a school-wide project. Maybe they could include singing the patriotic songs in the program. This could be the major event of the month. She couldn't wait to hear back from Mrs. Mitchell. Chapter 4 is finished. I have a question for you. What was Annabelle's first and second great idea? Discuss this with your friends.